Welcome to Film Talk Weekly. This is your guest host, Castle Searcy. I'm here today with Jeffrey Crowley.
Who?
Jeffrey Crowley. He is the Santa Fe International Film Festival Associate Programmer. We are coming to you, not live, but we're in New York.
We're coming to you alive.
Alive in New York. We're on Roosevelt Island, and we happen to be in the city together, so we thought we'd get together and talk about your favorite films of the year.
Totally. You
right?
know, 2024 over, 2025 starting. Already, I think, off to an exciting start of a movie year in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be remiss if I did not say, speaking of 2025 in film, submissions are now open for the Santa Fe International Film Festival. I believe the festival dates this year are the 15th through the 19th of October.
True.
If you go to santafe.film, there will be a big button on that landing page that says Submit a Film. You click that. Our submissions are done through Film Freeway. Can never not make a mention of this festival.
Of course. And
exciting 5 days out in the Southwest.
Yeah, we can't wait for it. And early bird submissions are March 4th. Final submissions are due July 17th, but get them in as soon as possible so Jeffrey can watch them.
Absolutely.
And select them for the festival. You can win camera packages, cash, and some of our films are Academy Awards qualifying now.
They are, yes. Yeah. So last year, 2024, was our first year receiving Academy qualifying status for short films that went in their respective categories that ally with the awards at the Oscars.
Big news.
Which is very, very cool. We're expecting to see a lot of shorts come through. We had an outstanding shorts program this past year, and looking forward to see what new movies our listeners hopefully will be sending to our lovely little Southwest Festival.
Cool. So otherwise, we're going to talk about like your most anticipated films, what you've seen, and you're going to go through your top 10 list.
Sure. Yes. So before we get to 2024, I'm always watching too many.
How many movies do you watch a year?
Every year. Well, how many new movies? How many old movies?
Do you count?
I do. Yeah. I'm a nut who keeps an Excel document on my computer with
really?
Who I saw it with, when I saw it, how much did I spend, all that jazz. But really, what it is, taking a page out of my buddy Sam's book. Self-prescribed diet of a bare minimum one movie a day.
Really?
And so oftentimes, the 11:55 at night will come along. It's like, all right, I got to put on something. And
even a short counts?
I do a feature, at least a feature every day.
So how did you narrow it down to 10 films when you watch at least a film a day?
It's I don't know, some movies just stick out. My list of movies runs, I think, releases over the course of the entire year. I know a lot of folks love to see those movies that come out just at the end of the year or maybe just out over the summer. It's just remembering what stuck out to me and, what's a movie that I'd like to return to one day. What's something that I'm still thinking about even though I've long since walked out of the theater,
Do you watch TV?
I do, just not as much.
Okay.
Yeah. I got to catch up on this new season of Severance,
Yes, I've been watching.
I've heard that's love the first one, looking forward to the second one. But hey, not just great TV on streaming. If you are a Mubi subscriber, they have a new film. I believe it ought to be on streaming, if not now, very soon. It's playing in theaters. If you're in New York, the IFC Center. If you're not in New York, find it streaming or anywhere you can. Grand Theft Hamlet is a digital internet era documentary about a pair of actors during the COVID lockdown who turned to Grand Theft Auto Online, the video game, to try and approach strangers through the veil of a digital avatar and trying to cast a group of players to perform an in-game production of Shakespeare's Hamlet.
This is a true story?
This is a true story, yeah. It is. It's a wild, wild documentary. I think it's really funny. It's really warming as well, though, to see people against all odds try and make theater from a situation where live performance could not happen, but then also doing so through the silliest of means. The uber violent, lots of fun Grand Theft Auto video game series is not really the stumbling block that you necessarily want in your way when trying to produce a production of Shakespeare.
Right.
But in watching the movie, you see why that is the exact stumbling block that these folks are pretty brilliant for identifying in their attempt at putting up Shakespeare during, I think it was the summer of 2021, they were really putting this all together.
That makes me kind of think of Romeo and Juliet for some reason.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yes, which is going to be playing in Santa Fe.
Yes.
Actually, it's Jean Cocteau.
I believe so.
Yeah, in February. So be sure to check that out.
A nice
but that makes me
Valentine's
think
Day.
of that, like a, like violent Shakespearean.
A new take on an old classic,
yes,
right?
a new take on an old classic.
So Grand Theft Hamlet, that's one that, as far as movies I've seen recently, that's definitely a fun one. Also playing in theaters right now, the new Steven Soderbergh movie Presence. It is a haunted house movie told from the perspective of the poltergeist that is haunting that house. That's probably the quickest way to kind of explain what the movie's doing. The camera itself is effectively the eyes of this invisible ghost or creature. You kind of figure out what's going on as you watch the movie. A very clever, it almost feels like, has this movie always existed? Why hasn't this? And not the first movie that employs a first-person perspective. A movie on my top 10 list from 2024 also. For folks who have been paying attention to movies that came out last year, I'm sure you already know which one I'm talking about. But yeah, just a very clever use of a simple cinematic technique. The movie is visually structured in these single takes. They could be 7 minutes long, they could be 40 seconds long, and punctuated by just cuts to black in between. You are piecing together this mystery as to understanding who or what is this poltergeist, why is it in relation to this family who has moved into the house, and what's really going on with the family. What's the dynamic at play?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Do I believe in ghosts? Oof. Oh man, you're really asking the tough ones today. Today I'll say sure. Yeah, why not? Right? Casper's a friendly ghost. I'll believe in a friendly ghost, I suppose. Okay. I don't know if I believe in the presence ghost, but
this island is haunted, by the way.
Is it really?
Supposedly, because they had the lunacy house for lunacy and the tuberculosis
sanatorium.
Okay. And there's a cat sanctuary too, so there might be some ghost cats.
That's a great duck goose right there. Mm-hmm. Scary, friendly. I want to meet. I want to meet the cat ghosts.
The cat ghosts. Yeah.
Totally. I'll end it with one movie that is not yet out, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One movie that I'm so excited for everyone else in the world to see. This had premiered at Cannes this past year. I got to catch it at the New York Film Festival in the fall. Carson Lund's EEPHUS, EEPHUS. Music Box Films is going to be putting it out, I believe, first week of March, and then expanding later in the month. It is the ultimate baseball hangout movie. It's about a group of middle-aged men who are getting together to play one final game in their adult baseball league before the field that they always play on is torn down to construct a middle school. The game refuses to end, and the players refuse to stop playing, and you kind of watch what happens as this group of rough and tumble adult men come of middle age sort of deal. It is a touching movie. It is hysterically funny. It's awkward at times. It's like really beautifully shot.
You've seen it.
I have.
We can't see it yet.
Coming out soon now. Just another only 2 more months that you have to wait.
Okay.
If that. EEPHUS. EEPHUS. If you're unfamiliar, if there are any baseball novices listening right now, EEPHUS is the title for a kind of pitch that is deliberately and awkwardly slow as a means of trying to throw off the batter that you're pitching to. So kind of the title of the movie features into the movie itself, but it's also very clever thematic.
Yes.
I think at least.
A coming of middle-age story.
Coming of middle-age baseball hangout movie. Yeah. Awesome movie.
I wonder what else you've seen that we're not allowed to yet.
Ooh. what have I seen that? Oh gosh. Well, I can't tell you now. I'll
Yeah,
probably
you can't
tell you
tell
after
us.
the break.
Yeah.
Or the next episode, because after the break, I want to make sure that we get started on talking about favorite films from this past year.
Yes, I'm excited to hear.
I don't want to
what
ruin
your,
all of the movies that are coming out in 2025. But
what your favorites are.
totally.
Today we're talking about your top 10 favorite films from 2024 and 2025.
I'm glad
So
that you
far?
bring that up. Yes, yeah. So I'm a stickler. When I announce my favorite movies at the end of the year to the masses of people who are just dying to hear what I have
Yes.
to say about movies.
I am.
Oh gosh.
I am.
What I'm particular about is that it is movies that were released in that particular year. So right before the break, I was singing the praises of Carson Lund's upcoming EFIS. While I saw EFIS in 2024, it's not being released until 2025. So that is currently my favorite movie of this year, even though I saw it last year.
Okay.
So if everyone can agree to those rules, I'm happy to share.
Agree to those rules. What are the Oscar rules for people that don't know?
They're pretty similar. Movies that are released within a calendar year, provided that they have like 4-wall play at a theater in New York or Los Angeles, unless they are able to apply by different means. I know short films like our festival can receive qualifying status by playing at particularly ordained festivals, or playing the typical 4-wall presentation in a theater. A bit atypical these days for a short film, unless you're like a Disney animated short that's put in front of the new Disney animated feature, or what have you. The rules are different for some of the international features, but largely it's, did you play in a New York or LA theater for at least 1 week, for at least 3 or 4 showtimes
Any
a day?
theater.
Any theater, yeah.
Oh.
Or a qualifying theater. It's got to be a,
theater.
what's a qualifying theater? That's a different episode, I think.
Yeah.
I guess I am akin to the Oscars or some of the other awards groups that way, where I stick to a release year. But that's mostly just to keep myself organized, I love a movie no matter what year it came out.
Is it in your Excel spreadsheet?
This information, of course, is, and
Okay.
color-coded and everything, too.
We'll share it online. We won't.
With that said, do you mind if I go with number 10?
Number 10.
If we start from number 10, work our way through number 1. My number 10 movie of the year was Carly Frijat's The Substance.
Yeah.
Big fan of The Substance.
Yeah.
Of course, there is the Demi Moore of it all.
Uh-huh.
There's only one person who could have played this role, level performance. The Substance,
amazing.
Incredible. Yeah, like really, like total go for broke performance. But it is not just a performance movie to me. The Substance is a movie that runs 2 hours 20 minutes in length, which for me is kind of the scary zone of where a movie's runtime can be. I love when a movie is under an hour and a half. I love when a movie is over 3 hours long.
Okay.
When you start to get into that 2 hours and change, it could be a little tricky. The Substance, among many other things, is an entertaining movie. I was with it from the first frame to the last frame.
Did you have to look away at all?
Oh no, I love the.
Oh. Yeah,
maybe not for the faint of heart.
Me
but
neither.
the body horror, the shrimp eating, the just like the
It was amazing,
uncanny
but I
wide-angle lenses.
did have to look away
Yeah,
sometimes.
there's a lot of just gleeful, grotesque joy abounds in this movie. That gets to be both this, satirical takedown of a systematic treatment of women, a systematic treatment of just people by particular industries. It can be all of those sorts of things, and you could pick it apart and how specific or how broad is this commentary. But first and foremost, I just think it's a wickedly entertaining, funny, gross out, enraging movie. Yeah,
hasn't it being a horror film? Hasn't it crossed into some different? It's getting awards. It's nominated for awards when horror hasn't been before.
For sure. Genre fare typically doesn't do the best when it comes award season time. I know that Carly Frijat is directed. It's nominated for Best Director at the Oscars this year. I'm thrilled to see that nomination come through. But the other thing I think is worth noting, the distributor of the film, Mubi, who also put out Grand Theft Hamlet. If you folks were listening to the first segment of our show today, this is far and away their most successful movie by an unbelievable margin. I think the original distributors of the film may have lost faith, had a different plan for the movie, ended up selling it to Mubi, and very cool to see a smaller distributor just do like wonderful business, getting folks to see. Forget the business, just getting eyes on this movie.
Right.
You know, really, really exciting that this has been the success for them that it has been.
Yeah. I loved it.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Alrighty. Number 9 is was a selection of the Santa Fe International Film Festival's feature program this past year. It's Mike Leigh's Hard Truths. Hard Truths stars Marion Jean-Baptiste as a woman who is mysteriously frustrated and endlessly angry at everyone and everything in the world around her. It's a domestic drama that starts as I thought at least like I'm screaming laughing comedy at the seemingly outrageous reactions in nature of one depressively soured woman's interactions with the world around her, and the movie very, very elegantly pulls those layers back one by one to show the struggle of someone who just does not know how to communicate their frustrations in a meaningful or healthy way, the impact that it has on her family, the contrast of her life and how she lives it versus that of her sister, who seems to be at this point the only one in the family who's going to to keep trying, to keep investing in a relationship with someone who seems like she just doesn't want it. And the resulting movie, at just over 90 minutes, it's that magic runtime, is just from beginning to end, another movie that you're in its pocket the entire time. Unbelievably moving performances, really wonderful digital cinematography by the late great Dick Pope, and a repairing of director and actress after the first time, or for the first time in I think close to 2 decades, something like that. So, Secrets and Lies was their previous collaboration together. That's Mike Leigh's Hard Truths. Highly recommend.
That's still in theaters, I believe.
It is, yes, still playing in theaters. That's been one of the movies that's been touch and go with some of its award success. So it might not be in theaters for the longest amount of time right now. All the more reason to run, don't walk to catch Hard Truths. Number 8.
Number 8.
Alrighty. Number 8 is Farah Nabulsi's The Teacher. This is a Palestinian film that was started production, I think, about 3 years prior to the events of October 7th, 2023. The resulting film is it's like a difficult watch. It's a highly emotional movie, and it deals with a teacher who is a retired or ex-revolutionary figure in Palestine, who finds himself in the uncomfortable position of needing to kind of serve as a surrogate father figure to one of his students, while also trying to negotiate the secret plans of kidnapping Israeli soldiers to try and exchange them for the lives of Palestinian prisoners.
This is narrative.
This is a narrative film. The uncanny, scenario of Palestinian resistance fighters harboring Israeli soldiers might be something that I think some audience members would be like, oof, I don't know about this movie. If you have any opportunity to watch it, Front Row Filmed Entertainment is the distributor of it right now, or the sales agent, I believe. I got to see this film over the summer. I think I mentioned to you in a previous conversation we had, my friend and mentor Lena Mata's contemporary Arab cinema program that she runs. She had this as one of the selections there, and it's just a movie that I've not stopped thinking about since seeing it. I guess if you're me, you'll love a movie with really moving performances, because this is another one of those. But a story that is just unbelievably immediate, incredibly moving, difficult to watch, and essential for the moment today, I think.
And how can we see it?
I would recommend looking up the film, again, The Teacher by Farah Nabolsi. I know that the film's website or the distributor's website should have listings for upcoming screenings. I think there might be one coming up in February in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Cobble Street Cinema, something like that. I'll take you out there sometime.
Okay, cool.
Alrighty. Hit up number 7 after the break?
Yeah, after the break.
Sounds good.
There's more. And I'm excited to hear more. We're on number 7.
Up to number 7, this selection is yet another Santa Fe International Film Festival alumni. It's Ramel Ross's Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys is an adaptation of the Colson Whitehead novel of the same name that follows 2 young men and the forced situation they find themselves in a very twisted boarding school based off of a real Floridian history of a school that tortured, killed, beat its students, all within the context of the civil rights movement in the 1960s.
Okay.
So a hatefully racist education institution and the perseverance of 2 young men who try to just make it through. The movie is really, really beautifully shot. This was the film that I was referring to in the first segment as another movie that employs the first-person camera perspective.
The whole thing?
The whole movie. Yes. Yes and no, but yes. The quick answer to that question is yes. How the director establishes the visual language, what we're allowed to look at, how we're looking at things, really gives the sense of a character who is an observer. And so it's a great joy. There's like a screenwriting truism of if you want your audience to know something, just put someone in the room of your scene that doesn't know the information. If they need to learn it, then the audience can learn it at the same time. And to that end, this is a movie where the character so often is observing objects, gestures, glances, and at the same time that they need to contend with what does that look mean, we the audience need to as well. And being so in sync with that perspective just makes for such a rewarding viewing experience, especially in the moments where the film twists the knife or zigs where you think it's going to zag, and it plays off of that alignment that you feel with the perspective as it comes at you. Nickel Boys is another one of the Best Picture nominees at the Oscars this year. I was really happy to see that break through in that way.
Right.
Ramel Ross also did another film prior to Nickel Boys, the documentary Hale County, This Morning, This Evening, from a few years back. If you love Nickel Boys, go see this other movie. If you've seen this movie but you haven't seen Nickel Boys, take a look at what Ramel Ross can do. Not only being so inventive with digital photography, but now moving from documentary to fiction. Really, really impressive follow-up to an already impressive feature by director Ross.
I think still in theaters also.
Yes,
in
definitely in
Santa
theaters.
Fe.
Yeah. So you could watch it at home eventually, I'm sure. But why would you do that?
Yeah, you try to watch everything in the theater,
screen.
right?
I do.
That's how the pros do it.
Yeah. That's how I stay out of the house so often. I'm just in a different kind of house, a movie house. Number 6.
Number 6.
Alrighty. Number 6 is definitely one of the movies that came out earlier in the year. Doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I think it's a great movie. I think it's the 6th greatest movie of the past year that I saw, at least. And that is Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2.
Oh, I love it.
I
loved it.
A huge fan of that first Dune movie.
Yes,
I loved
too.
how it kind of feels almost non-narrative. Enter Dune Part 2, action forward, without forgoing any of the brilliance of production design and, again, Greg Fraser's cinematography, especially the scenes with Stellan Skarsgård and Austin Butler playing with infrared camera technology is, it's an otherworldly viewing experience. It just has this otherworldly sheen to it. There is something unnatural, and it is perhaps because we're looking at something that our eyes naturally wouldn't be able to see without the help of some sort of inventive camera system. So, Yeah, Dune Part 2, just a really thrilling movie-going experience. I've seen a bunch of people compare the quality of adaptation in the Dune movies to that of the Lord of the Rings movies. And I think that that's a great way to get anyone excited. If you got a friend who's a Lord of the Rings fan, they haven't watched the Dune movies yet, just tell them they're just as good as those. I think it's a great analog of, massive, incredibly influential pieces of popular fiction, given the big screen, thoughtful treatment that they deserve.
Both the Dune movies, I like to put on in the background, like while I'm doing something, because like the lighting's really nice and the sound is really nice.
Gorgeous score, absolutely.
And like it can kind of just run in the background, and it's, you can, since I've seen it so many times, both of them, like you can just kind of watch it, and it's just it's ambient.
It's got such a great vibe to it. Not I love engaging with a movie fully every time I can. The thing that I think kind of what you're tapping on with what Dune is able to accomplish, though, in its full throttle commitment to these alien garments and textures and textiles that fill out this world, there is enough of visual interest in that alone that you don't even need the story.
Yeah, I agree.
And then on top of that, you get
It could be like one of those things where they do live music to it, or
orchestra.
Totally.
Like Go see the Hans Zimmer rock band play the Dune score.
Right.
Hell
yeah. I love those.
Awesome. Number 4?
Five?
Ooh, 5. I skipped number 5. Oops.
Yes.
We went from Dune Part 2 to number 5 for me, which is Wicked Part 1.
Right.
From a Part 2 to a Part 1.
Yeah.
Not just because I like ordering things like that, but my 5th favorite movie of the year. I am surprised and thrilled to admit, to share, is John M. Chu's Wicked adaptation. So another movie that I think is just like masterclass in adaptation. Like so many other people on the internet, I still have tweets that I got to go back and either like reply to myself and be like, dog, you were wrong about this, or just straight up delete them. But like many on the internet before the release of Wicked, I was a hater. I did not. Why is it widescreen? Why does it look like a superhero movie? What are these visual effects? Don't trust the trailers. Don't trust the advertisements. Just about the second I sat down in the theater to watch Wicked, it took me a few days to get to. I was working a bunch around the holidays, and it was very, very busy in movie theater world with Wicked and Moana and Gladiator all coming out at the same time. Wicked as a work of adaptation, though, from like the very first frame, did I feel at home and at ease as, no, this movie must be reflexing off of what you anticipate, what you thought you knew. Not simply for being a prequel story.
Did you know the story before?
I did, and hugely familiar with the music. I'll admit to you that more than one Fierro song in my community theater days of high school was in my audition book. I love the score, the story of Wicked, and so I felt, I guess, some sort of entitled protection around something that's not mine. And I'm so glad it's ours, actually. Anyone can enjoy the movie with that PG rating. I was so happy to be wrong. Yeah. The performances, again, I mean, like Ariana Grande, who is someone to me who have always had a great respect for her voice's musical instrument. Her music has never really been music that I've listened to. I feel like I'm seeing her for the very first time ever. And now I'm like running out in the streets being like, does anyone realize how great she is of a performer?
She is great.
Like, and how can you not be so over the top excited for what is clearly a dream come true for her? Of course, opposite her, the differently and equally like moving, impressive, grounding presence of Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba. I just saw it for a second time this past week. My buddy Robert had not yet seen it. I'm the musical fan between the two of us, so it was my turn to take him to the movies, sort of deal. And even my non-musical friend Robert really, really loved Wicked. So if you haven't yet seen it, if you're one of the few folks out there
who is not yet, still in theaters.
Yeah, definitely. And another Best Picture nominee, I think 10 Oscar nominations for Wicked this year. Shouts out to, we spell our names the same way, or last names the same way at least, production designer Nathan Crowley.
Are you Crowley?
I'm Crowley. He's
You're
Crowley.
Crowley.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
Whew.
spell it the same way. We pronounce it differently.
Saying it right.
No
Okay.
relation, but
Yeah.
the one and only Oscar prediction I'll make this year is that Nathan Crowley's going to finally win his Oscar.
Okay.
I think it's his 6th nomination. The opulence and overwhelm of the beauty of the sets that he built for that movie, I think, can only be experienced in the theater. So if you haven't yet seen Wicked, there are 2 hours and 40 minutes of your life that'll feel like 90 minutes. It's breakneck pace, thrillingly entertaining, awesome movie musical.
You heard it here. Next up,
Number 4,
Number
we're up
4,
to, right?
yes.
Awesome. Number 4 is yet another selection from the Santa Fe International Film Festival's 2024 edition.
We did good.
I gotta say, we got a great program. It is Matthew Rankin's Universal Language from Oscilloscope Laboratories. Universal Language was Canada's submission to the Oscars this year. It was shortlisted, and then unfortunately, the members of the voting body of the Academy did not select this film as one of the nominees this year. It doesn't matter what it's nominated for, though. The movie is as great as when I saw it first, as whenever any of you folks might catch it. Universal Language is like a culture clash movie that meets a kind of an auto-fiction of sorts. But first and foremost, it is like a surreally comedic just portrait of a city. The Canadian landscape has rarely been seen as so desolate and brutalist in its, like project housing, I believe, as depicted in the film. But you get these pocket episodes of school children and the townspeople and the interconnection of these lives as one man is trying to make his way home. And you see, I suppose it's one of those ensemble films, but it is not one of those ensemble films.
Okay.
Matthew Rankin had previously made The 20th Century, which was a breakout hit for him, especially in the Canadian cinema scene. And this follow-up of his, I think, is, I don't know, like his first feature is like a fictional biopic or a distorted biopic. And if this movie is a distorted autofiction, Matthew Rankin, in my book at least, is 2 for 2 in taking these almost troubled subgenres of films that I think that we've seen done a million different ways, and completely reinventing the wheel. Universal Language is like touching. It is almost austere in its strangeness or its disaffected quality from some of the performances it pulls, but it doesn't feel like it's aping someone else's style or borrowing or referencing. It really does feel like it's birthed from this creative personality and his relationship with the place that he's depicting in the film. So that's Universal Language, my number 4 favorite movie of the year.
And number 3.
Top 3.
Yeah,
We're already
top
here.
3.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
It's number 3 is Annie Baker's Janet Planet. So Annie Baker is a playwright. She's a New York playwright, and this is her first film.
Cool.
A lot of people will know, especially in the movie world, her play The Flick, which takes place at a movie theater and is about like the... I won't tell you what it's about, but it features, the employees of that movie theater as they kind of contend with, like, what does a job mean to me, and what does this place that seems to be on the cusp of change mean for us? Janet Planet, however, is a girl's coming-of-age story about a young, strange girl and her mother, Janet, as observed through, 3 different seasons of the mother's life. Different men, different friends, different jobs, kind of coming into orbit, and how that alters or shapes the relationship between mother and daughter, how the mother fails to mother, how the daughter fails to be, a good understander or recipient of her mother's actions, how they both are able to help one another process, the ebb and flows of life. It is a really intimately shot movie. It is if you know Annie Baker, it's just pure Annie Baker. It is. She spins gold out of the straw mundane. And this is a
You
movie.
have a way with words,
well,
Jeffrey.
if you think that's true, you gotta check out some. I'll send you some of her plays. She's got a way with words. Just a really really touchingly told girls coming of age story.
Number two.
Number two. Well, I said the key word, I suppose, when talking about universal language, but not
Brutalist. I heard.
Yeah. This is Brady Corbet's The Brutalist.
Pick that.
This was my most anticipated movie of the year.
Me too.
Sometimes you just know what you like. Mm-hmm. You can't possibly be disappointed, and that 3.5 hour movie is just too big to fail. I am so lucky that my opinion finds all of the above to be true. I think that Brady Corbet's previous films are tremendous accomplishments in and of themselves. Childhood of the Leader, Vox Lux, but now with The Brutalist, it really feels like this. What friends and I have been texting as a There Will Be Blood level event. This feels like a new American classic that we will be laughing at how good it is and how the scale, the conviction of production, the Guy Pearce performance at the center of it, which is my favorite performance of any movie I've seen all year. I'm convinced he went back in time to figure out how to affect the accent and the arch of his eyebrows. Adrian Brody, of course, anchoring the whole film. There are a few films that sound like this movie. There are a few films that look like this movie, not least of all for its VistaVision cinematography process, shooting 35 millimeter film, I think in 8 perforations horizontally, as opposed to the 2, 3, or 4 you're typically limited to, shooting vertically.
Still in theaters at the Violet Crown.
Still in theaters, yeah. And a movie that you gotta see in theaters. You get a 15-minute intermission in the middle of it. If you think a 3.5 hour movie seems like too much, really all you're doing is you're just doing a double feature. Is there an intermission? There is, yeah.
There's an intermission.
Built in right into the middle of it.
So 4 of these films on your list are at the Violet Crown, which is amazing. The Hard Truths, Brutalist, Nickel Boys, and Wicked. You can still see at the Violet Crown, Santa Fe.
My number one. I don't know if it is still at the Violet Crown. I'd be surprised if it was.
It's not.
This came out in the spring of this past year. I really toiled over this. Was it The Brutalist? Was it really? It really was Challengers, the Luca Guadagnino movie.
I loved it.
Remains my favorite movie of the year. Like The Brutalist, it's everything that I think we as a people are craving in a movie. It is, it's an exciting movie. It is an original story. It's a contemporary movie, not like The Brutalist. It's a movie that contends with figures and names and objects of pop culture populating a world very naturally. It's a movie that transcends product placement in a world where we live in, or in today's day and age where everything has a label on it, everything has a name associated or a brand attached to. Among many, many things, Challengers kind of throws you directly into that blisteringly contemporary world of brand deals and...
it's also just fun. It was fun to watch, I thought.
So energetic.
Cool.
The direction is outrageous. Yeah. There's a dynamism to the film that you think you're looking at a still frame, and 2 seconds later that camera's whipping up in the air. The very operatic turn towards the end of camera becoming tennis ball. The very nature of turning a sport that to me is something of like a niche enjoyment, like tennis. If you love tennis, you love it. If you don't, you probably don't really pay too much attention to it. They turn that sport into a vehicle for anyone to enjoy and to speculate around. Who doesn't love a sweaty movie, you know?
Right.
It's a very, very sweaty movie. And
with that, sweaty movies. We love sweaty movies. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up here. Real quick, just want to say, The Brutalist is also at CCA in Santa Fe. And I wanted to give a shout out on February 2nd. Groundhog Day is playing at Violet Crown as part of Cinemania with screenwriter Danny Rubin in person. They also have Eyes Wide Shut playing there as Films to See Before We Die, also on February 2nd. So you can just spend all day at Violet Crown. CCA has films like Grey Gardens, Buffalo 66. These are art house theaters in Santa Fe. It's just really cool that they play these older films, like for new generations, or maybe your parents didn't let you go see Pretty Woman in the theater, so now you can
is
go.
your chance.
You can go see it at Jean Cocteau.
Yeah, Santa Fe, just small mecca of movie houses to go to. So shouts out Jean Cocteau, CCA, Violet Crown. For many of the movies that I was just talking about, I'm sure they'll bring a few of the other ones that I was hinting at for later in 2025.
Yep. Thanks for joining us. This was Film Talk Weekly. I'm Castle. This is Jeffrey Crowley, Associate Programmer for Santa Fe International Film Festival. And we'll see you
soon.
See you soon.